here. Obviously, I think all our coaching's part of the Pac-12 family. We enjoyed our time together. We've been meeting basically on Zoom meetings the last, I don't know how long it's been, so it was fun to see faces. Good to see you folks back in the audience. It's always good when we can get into somewhat of a normal kind of circumstances. Speaking of circumstances, right now, as you guys know, well aware, we are under NCAA review. With that being said, we cannot comment on what's taking place with our football team. We also know that ahead of us is a new way of college football with the NIL. We also understand that that COVID is a big part of something that we're still dealing with in college football and in sports and in the world as well. So those things are a little bit hovering over us, and how we handle all those things, I think, is going to be very important. The commissioner did a nice job last night of really talking about some things that are very, very important for this conference going forward. Along with Merton Hanks, I think they'll represent this conference in a way that it'll be fun to watch them develop and grow together. So that being said, we have two of our outstanding athletes here, two team captains, Chase Lucas and Jade Daniels, across from me that are excited about being here. I think our team has a tremendous focus this year. You can see it in the spring. A lot of the veteran guys returned. And I think this conference in general, when you look at the Pac-12 conference, a lot of players who are draft eligible last year decided to stay. I think this conference this year will produce a lot of NFL quality players, which is kind of exciting to see. So, very competitive conference. I think the coaches, regardless of what school they coach, are very excited about their football team, especially when you have a lot of veterans that have had a lot of experience playing in this conference decided to come back. So, be an interesting season, very competitive season. Open it up for questions.
Herb, Chris Carmen, Center for Source.
Yes, sir.
I understand you're not going to comment about the investigation, but how do you work to prevent it from being a distraction for your staff, players, something that easily could be two different people?
Well, for us, it hasn't been a distraction at all, to be quite honest. When you watch our players work and our coaching staff, we're excited about getting back in the building tomorrow. They're there today, but I'm going to be back in the building tomorrow and really going forward on starting camp on the 4th of August. And I heard the local guys now, you guys will actually hopefully get to attend practice, kind of see what it looks like. So we're a focused football team, and I think it has a lot to do with the players that decide to come back in the spring. And that's kind of where our mindset is right now, as far as I know, as far as what I see and feel by the players.
Can you speak to the expectations for your team this year? It seems like anything less than a Pac-12 South championship might be viewed as a disappointment by fans, or maybe people even internally.
Well, yeah, you say that, but I heard we were ranked 3rd, so.
So what do you think about that?
But, no, it's fine. I mean, that's what's great about sports. There's always rankings. I can remember when I first took this seat, 4 years ago. I think the same thing was kind of applied. You guys, and I get it. Look, I've been on that side. I've been on you people's side before. I was in the media, and that's always hard. And I understand why some teams are ahead of us. Maybe some other teams should be ahead of us. I don't really know. How you draw the conclusion, but the two teams that obviously are up there, along with our whole conference, I think it's very competitive. And that's what's great about this conference. More that I've been involved in it, it's very, very competitive. I asked the question many times. You guys probably know more than me. What team in this conference, there's 9 teams, whether it's in the North or the South combined, who has gone undefeated? Who has gone 9 in a row? Who has won all the conference games? Whether it's in the South or the North, and it's adjacent with the common opponent you play outside the conference, that is a conference game, a Pac-12 game. Very difficult, I think, to go 9-0. We understand that. But that's what makes the conference so unique. Every game is very competitive in our conference. It's that kind of place. It's fun to be involved in it.
Anyone else, feel free to come up to the microphone.
Hey, Coach. Good afternoon.
you talked to Cameron Buford, Los Angeles News Observer. You talked about this new way of college football with the NIL. I'd like to know kind of what your thoughts on it, how you plan on attacking that with your players, and then how much money did you leave on the table because you weren't able to make any money from that?
Well, I'll tell you this. I think it's a new day in college football. New day, but not just college football. In college athletics for all student athletes. When you think about student athletes, it's not just football. It's all sports. We have over 600 athletes at ASU. So how this affects your university, how it affects a student athlete on where he or she may decide to go. I think this is part of the recruiting of it now, and you better embrace it. Because if you don't, you're going to get left behind. And that's the thing that we learn in life, that things move on, and you have to be ahead of it. And I think we've got to plan how to do that. I think there's going to be some glitches. It's the first time that we all are dealing with this. But it'll be interesting to watch the next 3 or 4 years of how this really develops and what it looks like, the model of how to do this. Because I don't think anyone has an answer right now because it's so new to us.
Doug Howler, The Athletic. I asked you earlier about filling Adam Brenneman's role. Will there be one guy with filling in for the tight ends coach, or will there be a...
Yes, there will, because you don't want too many voices in the room, and we're staffed enough to be able to adjust, and that's what you do. You always adjust, and we'll be in good shape that way.
Can you say who that guy is?
Right now, I don't want to. I don't think it's appropriate to do that right now, before our whole staff actually knows. Right? I would like to tell them first.
Hi, Coach Edwards. This is Marcia Benet with TG Sports. Quick question. Can you talk about your transition from the studio to the sideline?
It wasn't as difficult as some people may imagine. I was fortunate enough a couple times, 8 years, of coaching the Under Armour All-American game. So I kind of stayed in touch with the high school athlete that was about to enter college. I think it's like, coaching's like parenting. You raise your kids, they eventually grow up, hopefully in life, they provide you grandkids, right? Then you become a grandparent. But you don't learn, you don't forget how to be a parent. You don't forget how to coach. You don't forget, now you don't forget how the game of football is played. Some of us would say at a certain age we can't play anymore. I've always said I have one hit left. But the one thing you do know is that the longer you stay in it, some things never change. Athletes change, numbers change, but the game really doesn't change a whole lot. The basic fundamentals of how to coach it, how to play it, they're a part of football. And as long as you never lose sight of that, you'll be fine. Are athletes probably bigger, faster, and stronger than the generation that I played in back in the 70s, in the mid-70s? Yeah, they're bigger, faster, stronger. But life, the game of how you teach it, it doesn't change. So that's the one thing that when you've always done it your whole life, you don't forget that, right? It's like, remember the first time you actually they took the training wheels off the tricycle, right, and you had to ride it. Once you learn how to ride the bike, you don't forget how to learn. You don't forget how to ride it anymore. You might not ride it after a while. You get a certain age, you don't ride it one day and say, you know what, I'll get on a bike. It might be a little wobbly in the beginning, but figure out how to steer it and pedal and go. So same thing with coaching. That's what I believe.
Thank you, Coach.
Hi, Coach.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Good.
Every year you get some athletes, student athletes, that may consider going to the pros a little early. Do you think the fact that now these student athletes can get monetary benefits from name, image, and likeness, that perhaps it will keep the students, some students, here another year at your program or anywhere else instead of leaving to the NFL?
Well, first of all, we don't know what the number is, right? There's an NFL number and there's going to be a college number now.
Right.
And I think all athletes look at it different. We know this, a lot of these young people today, they're 3 and done. when you
Right.
start recruiting them, you actually understand they're probably 3 and done. COVID has been a year where obviously guys decided to come back. Our season was only 4 games. It was cut short for a lot of folks. But I think that'll still be a factor. I think the NFL will probably pay a little bit more.
I was talking about the athletes that, maybe are probably not quite ready, but maybe
Yeah.
family members are.
Oh, well, and that's something we're all gonna have to deal with, right? I mean, you as a coach, family member wondering, what it's gonna look like, and when money's involved, you never know, and you can't stop them from trying to better themselves. If money is part of the equation, then that's part of it. You have to realize that and be able to deal with it.
Thank you.
Well,
Hey Coach, Michael Lev with the Arizona Daily Star.
yes, sir.
Having covered teams in the past that were under NCAA investigation, it sort of felt like there was a dark cloud hovering over things throughout that time. Are you concerned about that at all heading into the season?
I don't know anything about other teams. I just know about our team. That's all I'm concerned with. Our team's fine. We're excited about playing and preparing for the season. That's what I do. Can't comment on what you've seen or witnessed. I don't know.
When those stories first came out, there were people at other schools who were saying some disparaging things about ASU. What did you make of that?
Well, I think if you know me, the people that have been covering us and the people that know me my whole life, I don't really pay attention to it. So I wouldn't know. All I know is with all the coaches this week and conversations never brought up. That's where it's at. It's football season. Play football. That's what we're all here to do. That's what you guys are here to do. Watch football, to cover football, and that's what we do. Football is getting ready to start. 4th of August for us, and we're excited about the opportunity to start to kick the season off and kick training camp off and get ready to go. That's what we're here to do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon, Coach.
How are you?
I'm good. How you doing? Nick Hamilton, Nightcast Media. What does it mean just to be a part of the Pac-12 conference that has about 4 black coaches in this conference, as opposed to the other conferences that don't have that type of number? What does it mean for you to be a part of this conference?
Well, I think hopefully in life, in general, we don't have to say that. I mean, wherever I've been as a coach, head coach position, I've always been the first. I don't even like talking about that. Why is that, right? I think this conference, it dates way back when I was in this conference, right? As a former football player, Pac-12. It's very progressive. It gives opportunities to not only men but women. You're talking about the coaches, look at the athletic directors as well. So that's just what this conference is about. And I would hope that we shouldn't be like the odd conference. It should just, hopefully in my lifetime, and hopefully I got a little longer to go, that we shouldn't have to talk about this. This shouldn't be a subject. It should just be, that's what it is. It's about what America's built on, dreams and opportunities. And I think sometimes when we get into all these other things about what it looks like, and I'm not trying to disparage diversity and all that stuff, but I'm just saying that I grew up in the 60s. And there's some things I look at right now and I reflect on and go, why are we still doing that? We should be past that by now. And hopefully in the next 10 or 15 years, and you'll still be interviewing, these folks will still be in the audience, I'll be somewhere at home watching my daughters, and hopefully they'll be married, and I'll be a grandpapa, that you guys want to ask people this question. You want to ask the coach this question, or ask anybody in business this question about what does it feel like? It should be normal. This should be normal. It shouldn't be a question we have to ask. That's probably the most sad part of it all, that we're still asking it in 2021. Shouldn't be a question we need to ask.
And in addition to that, what do you think are some steps that need to be taken as far as creating that opportunity for more, like you said, just black and minority coaches and women coaches as well?
You just mentioned it. you're here asking the question, and I can remember when I was playing, not many people looked like you asking those questions. You were given an opportunity. And I think the thing you have to realize is when you're given an opportunity or a platform, you've got to lift other people up with you, give them opportunities. And that's what life's about. When you have a little success, make sure you give back. Make sure you give back to the profession that you're involved in so that it by itself can evolve. And that's what this thing's about. It's not about us, it's about the people that follow us and the opportunities that are provided for those folks. That's why I sit here today. I'm standing on a lot of people's shoulders, did things that give me the opportunity to be here. So I think we can never lose sight of that. It's important.
Thank you, Coach.
You're welcome.
Hey, Coach, I'm curious if the investigation has affected recruiting, or if you've had to answer more questions from recruits or their families about the program's future?
You mean the review? No, it's not. Fine.
Hey, Coach. Maybe catch up right there. Jimmy Lake got promoted to head coach at Washington. A smile's on your face. Just talk about what that person means to you, your relationship with him.
Yeah, watched Jimmy for a long time, and well-deserved. Obviously, he's following a legend, Coach Peterson, fabulous. It's a community that really, they like their football up there. We have to go play them. We've been up there our first year, and it's a loud stadium, boy. Those fans are excited, and I know everyone's excited now about the fan base that's coming back into all the stadiums in the Pac-12. I'm happy for him. He's going to do a fantastic job up there. He understands the culture there. It's been set, and he's going to continue to set it even higher.
When did your relationship go back to with him?
Oh boy, I'm getting old, man. I know a lot of these guys, and they were right young, and you just kind of watch them grow. And it's kind of fun to watch it, to be quite honest, from afar. You've kind of witnessed them as young coaches, as players, and they played, and then they get into the coaching profession. No different than pro football. I watch a lot of guys that I had the opportunity to coach, and now they're in the league coaching, right? Former players, and that's always good when you see former players coming back to become coaches. That's always fun.
Yes.
I have yet to pick him up.
Afternoon, Herm. With the degree of COVID disruption your team had last season, how exactly did you evaluate what was the on-field product in determining the next steps for guys and scheme and all that sort of thing?
Well, I think the true testament is with the players, their perseverance of how the season kind of went for us. We started, and then we came to a pause for a while, and we had to start back up. And I think every game was precious to us. Only playing 4, we played 1 home game. We played 3 on the road. And I think we learned a lot about our team. And I think the players learned a lot about each other, too, going through all that. Because we all suffered through it. We're hoping that is not the case for anyone this year, in any sport. And we've already seen it in certain venues in sports right now. We've seen it in the Baseball World Series. We've seen it pop up. And it's a reminder of what can happen to you if you let it get away. And you got to be very cautious.
You were one of the teams that had new offensive coordinator, new offensive system. Just how much were you able to get done last season, and just how much more understanding do guys like Jaden have of what the coaches want of them now compared to last year?
Well, and that was good that we had a spring, because then we could put it in full. We had a spring, and then we had a little bit of a season, then all of a sudden it was done, and then we started again in spring, so we got through a whole spring. And I think Jaden is much more familiar, as well as the receivers and the young group that we had that he had to play with last year, with the 2 young running backs too. So I just think we're further along, even on defense, what we were trying to do, and now we're further along, so it's going to kind of be fun to watch.
We have about 5 more minutes. Any other questions?
How important is the passing game to the success of your team this year? And you talk about Jaden's importance in that role.
Well, I think college football really has shown that you have to score points. You score points in college football, or even in pro football, through the passing game. You have to be able to throw the football. Not in a way where you're throwing it, 150 times. I don't know if you get into that. That's, some teams do that. We're not built that way, but we're built in a way where Jaden's going to have opportunities. And I think for him, just listening to him and being with him, the young receivers that he played with last year, all the work they've done behind the scenes and then during the spring, and spring was over with even now. Talking earlier in the green room, he was telling me how those guys have progressed. So it's going to be fun, but he has to go to ball. There's no doubt about that. We have to score points. You know that in this conference. You got to be in the high 30s to have a chance, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. It's hard for a defensive guy to say that, but that's the life we live now. You got to be able to throw it.
I know you take especially pride in the secondary, and you seem to have a very good one this year. Can you just talk about expectations for that group?
Well, any secondary knows they're only as good as the pass rush, right? How you put pressure on the quarterback. And I think we've got some gifted players back there, some talented guys that can play sticky defense, that can play man-to-man, that can cover guys. And I think they're excited about that. When 3 or 4 of them have played together now for 2 or 3 years, and they're very comfortable. The communication is what I like the most. You have to change certain things because of different looks or formations or motions. The communication with the secondary is much cleaner than it's been, and that's important. You have to communicate. You have so many different elements back there. They all have to be on the same page. But Chase is a prime example. I mean, you can just tell the way he walks around, the way he talks. And he's a team captain, and it's fun to watch him develop from the years that I've been here to where he's at right now. And I'm excited for those guys.
160, 170, I don't even know how many ways.
Just a couple more minutes. Any other questions for Coach Edwards? All right, Coach, thank you very much.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks, Ron.
All right, thank you.